Thursday mornings, you know that.
That's true. You are definitely always ready to go for today.
I'm pretty much like that every day. Isn't that true?
That's true. You have that
Especially
natural.
Saturday mornings, right, Alex?
Oh, Saturday and Sunday mornings, as Mrs. Erby sees all the time, she says he doesn't stop. He doesn't stop. Why doesn't he stop? An endless Energizer bunny of an Erby is Xavier.
So we have a full house today.
We have a full house today. Full house. 3 sets of guests today from 3 amazing entrepreneurs, 3 amazing businesses in our community. So we're going to start with Allison Whitcomb. She's the owner of Siller Pollinator Company. So that's our beekeeping. Unfortunately,
yeah, I'm interested about that.
Yeah, so am I. I'm very fascinated to see how this works. It's something I know very little about, but I'm glad that there's no free sample of bees. That's one I don't need the live demonstration of, fortunately. We're going to be following that up with Jane Hamill. She's the co-owner, and David Steves, the head brewer of Pro Ranada Brew Pub and Music Hall. So I love Pro Ranada, so I'm very excited to have them on. We've been there several times and enjoyed it every single time. I've even done friend get-togethers. I'm like, Pro Ranada, that's where we're doing it. And lastly but not least, Maria Isabel Gil and Fernando Salazar from Arepas on Wheels, which is an amazing new Latino business here in town that is taking everyone by storm. I was gonna use. So you can find them all over the place. It's hard. There's in so many places now. It's hard to keep track.
Well, that's the whole goal of On Wheels, right? You can go wherever the people are. That's where you go.
Exactly, and they are where the people are. So they're always easy to find. So you just literally, Instagram, you'll find them, and it'll tell you exactly where. Their Instagram page is literally a bunch of between that. First off, it has pictures of arepas, which is already fantastic.
Right away, you start salivating.
Right away, you start salivating, and then you see the calendar, and I'm like, there you go. That's all I need to know, where and when.
Get that GPS, figure out where they are, boom, go.
Exactly. So it's an amazing show that we've got in store for you, and we're really excited about it. Just full of entrepreneurship today.
It is, yeah. I mean, it's gonna be a lot of fun. I can tell, because there's just a lot of questions in my head already. And it scares you sometimes, but in this case, they'll be good. Don't worry.
Absolutely. So then we have a couple announcements. Got some amazing things that our partners are up to. So it's just just full
Looking
house,
forward to it.
Full house, and loving the entrepreneurship as always on Today Mañana. Exactly. So I know Judah's pulling us up, and he's gonna tell us to be quiet any minute now. He's gonna be like, he always says it so politely. He always says quiet on the set.
There you go. Exactly.
Quiet on the set. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Today y Mañana. I'm Alex. This is Xavier. We're really excited to have you joining us this morning. It is definitely a great morning, as always, for a café con leche.
Oh, café con leche.
Café con leche.
I'm glad you reminded me of that.
I know. You need to be reminded. It's not like I say it every week.
I think you would have sent me a little note. This is what I'm going to test you.
This is what I'm going to test you if you've been paying attention to my opening for the last year.
I need at least 2 years to really get it
memorize
in.
Café con leche. I know. So really excited to have everyone joining us this morning. It's a perfect morning for lots of entrepreneurship as well. So we're going to have 3 fantastic sets of just people working in our community with some 3 great local businesses that we're really excited.
They're all different.
All different.
It's just going to be
all unique in their own way.
Interesting, exciting, and very educational, I'm sure.
Absolutely, as always on Today Mañana. We always appreciate being here on the I Love Seville Network set. I always appreciate just partnering with Vitae Spirits that heads up there. The First Street Fair is back.
Oh, that's right.
And it will be April 30th. That's a Saturday. So be sure to check that out. Vitae Spirits, Darling Boutique along that First Street hosting that, as always. Of course, the Jim Seville, we always love partnering with them. With Miguel from Serious Credit Insurance. Our friends at Aqua Seville Hand Car Wash. Castle Hill Cider, also having an event on May 15th. So there's so much to do this spring. So much to do this spring. And of course, our friend Johan Torres at GBS Financial Services, who was already excited about today's show. Just thank you, Johan. He shared our post preparing for the show saying that Arepas on Wheels has the best arepas. And I think I think he said Tetinias or Tatanias, some other thing which we'll ask about. I don't know what it is. It's Venezuelan. So I'm like, oh, okay, but I need to find out. It sounds delicious, whatever it is.
If it's food, it's got to be
delicious. It's food. It's food. I saw the picture of it and I said, this looks good. So Johan Torres, thank you for sharing, our friend at GBS Financial Services, with all your accounting needs and your tax preparation.
Very helpful these days in particular.
Oh, very much so, very much so. So 5 fantastic guests, I should say, from 3 businesses lined up. We're going to start off today with Allison Whitram. She's the owner of Siller Pollinator Company, followed up by Jane Hamill, the general manager, and David Steves, head brewer at Pro Ranada.
Ooh, okay.
Pro Ranada Brew Pub and Music Hall. And last but not least, Maria Isabel Gil and Fernando Salazar from Arepas on Wheels are going to join us. So much to do today. I say we just jump right into it.
We don't have enough time to waste.
I know, Judith's probably already sitting there saying, these guys are going to go over the hour today. I just know it. I just know it. But it'll be for all the right reasons.
Exactly.
So we're really excited to start off welcoming to the show Allison Whitram. She's the owner of Siller Pollinator Company. Allison, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me. Hello.
Hi, Allison.
Hello.
It's fantastic to have you on, especially since the first, I think, company we've had on that's remotely connected with, agriculture, beekeeping, pollination, and so forth. So, I'm curious how you came to work in the field of beekeeping and pollinators.
Yeah, so actually it started way back. I went to JMU for my undergraduate, and they give you that glorious year before the student loan company wants your money back. So I said, well, what am I going to do? So I jumped on a plane to Hawaii because why not? And I started working on a farm there doing tropical agriculture, and part of that was they had lots of honeybee hives, and we're also selling honey, coffee, macadamia nuts, avocados, lemons, limes. It's pretty glorious. But the beekeeping was my favorite part, and it really just took hold.
Wow.
So that was, I think, already 11 or 12 years ago somehow. And so I've been a beekeeper since. But I'm trained in agriculture. That was what my education was in. And then when COVID hit, I lost my job, and I was thinking about doing this as a hobby business. And so that sort of hobby plan B became plan A, and I had to make it work, and I had to bring a paycheck home, and so here I am.
Absolutely. That's
fantastic. I do have one question, because when I think of these beehives, right? And I always say to myself, so when I think of when you're growing, whether it be, rabbits or chickens, whatever, you kind of buy a few chickens, and I guess eventually they multiply, right? So tell me, how do you kind of put a beehive and all the bees come, or do you have to get bees? How does that work?
You put them in, yeah. If you're lucky, they'll come, but usually we don't get that lucky. Bees sort of have a natural way of reproducing, but called swarming.
Okay.
But you can also do a sort of man-made artificial swarm and split them. And when you split them in half, you can then make 1 into 2 and 2 into 4 and propagate them that way. And you physically just sort of take bees out of one group and split that group in half to make 2 groups.
Interesting.
Physically meaning with your hands?
Yes.
So I assume you were dressed up properly?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, try not to get stung. That's part of the game.
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah.
That's probably major. For me, that would be the number one.
Yeah, the experiences I've had have been very fun.
It's not the most comfortable, but there's risk in every career, right?
I guess so.
Absolutely. I'm curious. So, how does Siller Pollinator work? So, what do you consult with people who are pollinating? Do you have your own beekeeping? I'm curious how do you work with the community?
Yeah, any and all of the above. The mission statement of the company is to help people help pollinators. Everybody wants to help pollinators, and sometimes people don't know where to start or what to do. Mm-hmm. Everybody knows that pollinators are in trouble, and we have to do something quick because our food system relies on them, at least right now, almost completely.
That's right.
Somewhere between a third and a half of everything you put in your mouth today, you can thank pollinators for. Wow. And indirectly, even more than that, because maybe, if you eat beef and you have a hamburger, you have to trace that all the way back to the feed that the cattle were eating, and that also might have been pollinated by bees, right? So there's even more impact through indirect pollination services that these insects provide for us. But, we'll do any pollinator project. Most of what we do is we manage honeybee hives on Charlottesville area properties. That's the majority of the revenues.
Okay.
But we help people foster native bee populations. We help people plant flowers, and a lot of people are interested in switching over maybe their lawn into a pollinator habitat. So we'll help them get that going and select the right plant species and figure out where and when and how to plant it so that they can really create forage food for the pollinators. So that's another big piece of the business.
That makes a lot of sense.
So let me ask a question, because we in the summer we have a vegetable garden and tomatoes and zucchinis and all that, and you go out there early in the morning and they're buzzing away, right? I mean, we had lavender
Especially
trees.
when you planted the
like
lavender, they love.
I mean, they just love that.
Bumblebees
They're
are all over the lavender
Yeah,
and the carpenter bees.
So my question though is, are all bees created equal in the sense of pollinating? Do they all pollinate or only some pollinate?
Yeah, they are not all created equal, but they all sort of have their niche that they fill. Actually in Virginia, honeybees are only one species that provide pollination services to your garden and everything else. But there's more than 400 bee species in Virginia alone. Wow. And so that includes all types of things that you might recognize, bumblebees and carpenter bees and mason bees and leafcutter bees and all these different sort of species. A lot of them are specialists. So maybe they only feed on willow. Maybe they only feed on squash. There's a super cute bee that only eats cucurbit flowers. It's a squash bee, and it's adorable.
Oh, is the one that goes? It's probably the one that goes in. You can find them early in the morning. Remember, they're sleeping
They're
inside
sleeping in there. It's just the
inside
cutest.
the zucchini flower.
Right.
Yeah, there's a picture of one on my website. It's just the cutest bee in the world. They're just fuzzy, and they have these long
Exactly.
antennae.
They're very fussy. Yeah.
And they're just docile and waiting for the sun to warm them up. So one of the bees that we help to manage and we can directly manage besides honeybees, for example, is a mason bee. And they live completely solitary lives. They don't live in big groups like a honeybee colony does. They live by themselves, and they sort of come out right around this time of year, maybe last week, and they sort of coincide with the red bud bloom.
Okay.
So once you start to see that purple everywhere, your mason bees are popping out. And they kind of mate, and then the females go and collect nectar and pollen for their babies, and they lay a few eggs and make a few babies, and then, in 6 weeks or so, they die. And then the babies overwinter, and the cycle repeats.
Wow.
So it's not always honeybees, and they do have different preferences based on the species. Everybody loves honeybees, though, because they kind of go all year and are generalists. So they'll eat just about anything. So that's why they're the most popular.
Okay.
They're easy to manage. They're easy to move. They have a perennial, year-long and repeating life cycle. And they'll visit just about any flower. So that's why they're sort of the main livestock in terms of bees in the United States and in the world.
Okay, so two more questions.
Before you do that, quick shout out. We
yeah.
got some people watching the show and enjoying it. We got thank you, Johnny Ornelas, amigo del programa, for watching today. Bill McChesney, Maribel Castaneda, Elimelech de los Santos. Thanks for watching. Elizabeth Miller watching the show today. So lots of people tuning in.
Absolutely. Well, they all want to find out about these pollinators.
Absolutely, and more.
So I had two questions. So, are hornets also pollinators, and are yellow jackets pollinators? And are they good pollinators or bad pollinators?
That's a great question. They do act as pollinators. So a lot of wasps and hornets are sort of omnivores. So that means they'll eat insects, other insects, and they will also feed on nectar and pollen from a plant.
Okay.
Nectar is a fantastic carbohydrate source for anything. And pollen is an incredibly protein-rich food. So if they're in need of protein or carbs, they will visit flowers and they will pollinate. But they have really smooth bodies, so the pollen doesn't stick to them very well. So they're not as efficient as bees are, which are usually pretty fuzzy. And sort of potentially the evolutionary purpose of that is they're so fuzzy that they catch all that dusty pollen all over them, and then they're able to pollinate. And carry pollen from one flower to the next. But Yes, hornets and wasps are very annoying and helpful pollinators.
Because we had last year, I don't know whether because it was dry or whatever, but the hornets just literally
really
ate
bad.
all our apples. Mm-hmm. So is that kind of normal because they just need to
Yeah.
feed on something? Or?
Yeah, they're looking for food.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a pretty intense summer. It was pretty dry.
Right. Okay.
Everything was sort of in places where you wish they weren't because they were just hungry and thirsty.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had the same problem in my house. This is like a total yellow jacket disaster, but
All right. So I can forgive them then.
you
can
can
last
you can
year.
forgive them.
Yeah, it was sad. After
Yeah.
Nick and I spent a whole afternoon wrapping the apples so the squirrels wouldn't get them. And we
Yeah.
said, this is it. They will live this year. And they're like, hornets eat apples? Why?
It's a big bummer. I'm sorry.
Absolutely. And then you had a second question, Xavier?
No, what? So it was part
was
of
the
the do
combination.
question. It was a yellow jackets because now the yellow jackets they actually have their, if you want to call it, their nesting underneath the ground. Is that what they are? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, a lot of wasps and hornets will nest underground, or they'll create sort of that paper nest that you're used to hanging on something. There's a lot of bees that also nest underground. They're sort of collectively called mining bees because they'll do their whole life cycle underground as well.
Okay.
So, generally, bees, wasps, hornets, other pollinators are nesting, either in groups together because they're social species, or that, living in a tree, or living in a cavity, or living in the ground. Those are sort of the most common places.
Do those nests move, or are they like there? Okay, they move.
They can move, and they can be reused. They can be created new. It just sort of
Okay.
depends on the species.
Okay. All right.
Interesting. I'm curious. So, what are some of the major challenges that people will have when they're trying to start a honey colony, or they're trying to help pollinators that they'll often call you in for? I'm curious. Well, what do they sort of encounter that they say, okay, I need Allison's help here?
Yeah. So, three main reasons why maybe I would get a call. Number one, somebody wants to promote pollinator health, and they're interested maybe in having honey coming off of their property or their farm, but they have zero time and/or interest in being a beekeeper.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's when I come in and I take care of the whole thing.
Okay.
Or, second scenario, they are aspiring beekeepers, and I always tell people it's not rocket science, but it's really not easy. It's really not, especially since globalization and the movement of pests and diseases that have really hit everything hard, but especially honeybees. They struggle with pests and diseases that have been just moved around the world. It's harder now than it's ever been. And so people need help, and they need help understanding what's going on and how to keep those honeybees healthy. And then the third main reason that I would get a call would be that someone really wants to transform, let's say, a pasture into a pollinator habitat, and they're just not really sure where to start. They don't know where to get the seed. They don't know what time of year. They don't know how to prep the land. So I can kind of come in and consult on that, and I can even find folks and bring them in and kind of sort of contract out the project and get everybody in the right place to make it happen, and slowly transform maybe what used to be all bluegrass or all fescue into a blooming perennial wildflower meadow.
Wow.
Oh, which has to be, beautiful in addition to being helpful.
Yes.
To encourage pollinators. Now, will you work with people to assist with all types of bees? Are there some people who want to encourage a certain type of pollinator, and you'll be able to say, okay, here's specifically what you need to do there?
Yeah. There's, like I was saying before, there's some species that are specialist, and so you want to kind of make sure you have those keystone species. If you're hoping to help pollinators out on your property, you want to bring in those keystone species that are important to the native bees of Virginia and what they like to eat. But we also can even help. There's two species of bee that are sort of traded and raised and purchased and shipped, which are not honeybees, that are leafcutter bees and mason bees. So we can even bring those bees in, even though they're native here. We can bring them in, and that just kind of bumps the population up. And we can provide that nesting habitat. And yeah, we walk people through, if you want to encourage cavity nesting bees on your property, this is what you should put in. And if you want mining bees on your property, this is what you should do with the ground. So we'll help with any pollinator project.
Interesting.
Wow,
I have
that's pretty
got
amazing.
actually a viewer question here from Ricardo Cruz Duran. Ricardo, thanks for watching. It was great having you on last week. He says, this is really interesting. He's learning a lot. How do you encourage pollination in a greenhouse?
That's tricky, yeah. There's a couple things you could do. Number one, open the windows. And then number two, you can actually purchase bumblebees for greenhouses specifically.
Wow.
And they just basically come in a box and you pretty much pull the cork. And they are really efficient in greenhouses, and they're actually some of the best in greenhouse environments. So that's something.
They'll continue to live there.
They have an annual life cycle. The queen bumblebee is the only one that's going to survive. So if she's even in there, there's sort of a couple of ways you can buy it. But yeah, so you can pretty much just Google bumblebees for my greenhouse.
Wow.
And then you can get a box of common eastern bumblebees to put in your greenhouse.
That's
It's
pretty amazing.
It's super effective.
Yeah.
It's a couple $100, but they are, nobody can match their skills when it comes to greenhouse pollination.
That's incredible.
That is incredible. It's just funny because, like I said, you go to the garden and you just see them everywhere, especially in spring and in the summer as they're pollinating all those good fruits and vegetables that we want to eat. But it's just amazing that you go out there and I see all different type of bees, right? I mean, to me, a bee's a bee, right? But now that you mentioned that, I mean, certainly I agree. The zucchini bee is the nicest one because I'm not afraid of them because I notice they just don't seem to be aggressive, right? And you're right. I mean, they're sleeping in there early in the morning. I'm watering the garden once in a while. A couple start flying around, but then you go to other areas of the garden and there's like what they look like tiny bees or other bees and I mean so far like in the garden it's haven't been afraid. It's other places where you're mowing the lawn and they come at you. And it's like,
of yellow jackets
what did I
out of
do?
the ground.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, and the deal with that is that they're really defensive, right, instead of aggressive. So when they're out foraging, their mission in that moment, they're simple. They sort of really don't even have brains. It's just like a cluster of nerves, pretty much. So, they're out there and they're thinking, I need pollen and nectar. And they might bonk into you because you're standing there and they're just like, excuse me. But then, when you get close to their stuff, that's when things change.
Okay.
And, so honeybees, their mission is to perpetuate the progeny, right? And so they store honey, they store nectar, and they protect their brood for a rainy day. They have to protect it against bears, and they have to protect it against skunks. And so they sort of have that natural instinct to chase you off, even if it means stinging you for it. And that's the thing with the yellow jackets, they're nesting in the ground, and you drive your mower over their hole where their food and their babies are stored, and they're like, oh no, you can't have this.
Exactly. That's exactly what happened.
Exactly.
Right.
When you did that.
Whereas when you're in the garden, they're just buzzing annoyingly around your face. They're not
That's right.
actually going to hurt you in that moment. So, yeah, it's pretty interesting. But
This is amazing. I mean, I assumed, right, that the bees all did different things, but I didn't realize that different bees have different functions.
I had no idea they were even specialists.
Yeah, I didn't know there were 400 species. Is that what you said? 400?
yeah, 4,000 in the United
Oh,
States.
4,000. That's about here in Virginia.
About 400.
About 400.
Virginia
That's
alone.
amazing.
That is
I
amazing.
mean, it's just. I mean, I thought there might be like 10 kinds of bees, and that's it, good to go. But that's incredible.
And each one is like unique and different
Yeah.
in that way. That's fascinating. So, I mean, Allison, any last words and first off, where can people find you, but also anything else you'd like people to know about just the importance of the pollinators in the community or things you would like to encourage people to sort of take away?
Yeah, I think, the takeaway message is that as the population on this planet grows, we can sort of choose how we want to move forward with how we're treating the natural environment. And these bees are not only important for our survival, but they're also part of the complicated web of everything that exists. And, I think we should be careful in what we're doing in terms of pesticide use and destruction of habitat and of course, we need a house. We need a house to live in, and we're growing too, and we have to consider that. But we can make changes to help them out. We can plant a meadow instead of a lawn. We can put up a honeybee hive, and there's all kinds of benefits to it. So yeah, that's my take home is think about the pollinators, take care of the pollinators, and not just honeybees, because they're not the only ones. And yeah, people can reach me on my website. It's sillerpollinatorcompany.com. And, I have a contact form there. That's really the easiest way to get a hold of me. And my phone number is there, so folks can find me that way pretty easily.
Fantastic. SillerPollinatorCompany.com. And I think it's the same on Facebook as well.
Yep,
Siller
Siller Pollinator Company. Facebook and Instagram.
On Facebook and Instagram. Oh, fantastic. Allison, this has been just
Yes,
so
thank you
educational.
so much.
Thank
I
you.
did not know
I have
all-
a new
so
respect
many
to
of
those
these
bees.
names.
Yeah.
No, I do.
Even the ones that stung.
Yeah, send me pictures.
We'll do.
Will do.
Now you know it's not personal.
Yeah, of your cute squash
It's not
bees.
personal, that's right. Yeah, I thought it was for a while there,
No.
but I guess not.
Thanks for joining us,
Thank you
Allison.
all so
Appreciate
much.
it.
Thank you.
Oh, that's fantastic. A little shout out. Thank you, Philip Dowell, for watching us today. Thank you, John Blair, for watching the show. Always a pleasure to have our guests involved. Thank you, Elena Ricardo, for your audience question. Definitely, that was an interesting one. I hadn't thought of the
Yeah, the greenhouse. Yeah, I never thought of that myself. I mean,
That you have
but
to-
but I'll tell you, you begin. Listen, I've always had respect. I mean, and I know that we don't use pesticides. Not only because of the bugs and the bees, et cetera, but because we just don't like to eat pesticide, right?
Exactly. We like
So
to-
all our vegetables are grown as as organic as possible, right? But it's. And the bees are part of what you grow, but to kind of learn that each bee has its special function, you grow to love them just a little bit more.
Yeah, you
just a little bit though,
appreciate
because
them and what
every
they
once
do
in a while
and,
they're still like, move.
It reminds me, like, the old, there's the old saying that, the Lord in his wisdom made the fly and then forgot to tell us why.
Why, yes.
So, with bees,
With
we know why.
Exactly.
So you really want to help them. The fly, I still haven't figured out, but the bee,
That's right.
we in the pollinator, we know that it has that important purpose and it's important to protect it. Absolutely. So from one fantastic business to another, we're really excited
Well,
to
I'm sure the
welcome-
bees help out too. We'll find out.
We'll find out. I mean, isn't there's barley and hops
That's right.
and beer, so the bees probably got to be involved. So we got Jane Hamill, she is the general manager, and David Steves, the head brewer for Pro Ranada Brew Pub and Music Hall. Jane, David, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having
Good
us.
morning. Yes.
It's fantastic. I've been excited about this interview ever since Nick told me that you both were coming on. As I said, yes, I have been to Pro Ranada numerous times, and I really enjoy it every single time. So
Great.
we just really appreciate you both joining us this morning.
And they brought some nectar.
They have. I see
Yeah,
them brought
yeah,
some-
we brought some nectar, and you're right, bees play a big role, a big important role into the production of beer, so absolutely.
There we go, fantastic. Well, tell us a little bit about what you've brought, and also, as we're doing that, how each of you came to be connected and involved with Pro Ranada.
Sure, well, Jane, you want to go ahead? I'll pour these beers for us, and then I can talk about it.
Oh, that sounds great.
Absolutely.
I actually been I was a patron of Pro Ranada for 6 years since they've opened, like many people in the area, and I loved it. And just started to get to know the folks there a little bit more. And then last year, worked with them in events and marketing consultancy, and was brought on as the general manager earlier this year, kind of midwinter, a little bit after David joined. And we've been seeing some really just fabulous developments there, delicious beer. Keep hearing a lot of feedback about how the beer game has really kind of leveled up.
Nice.
Varieties have changed. Definitely have had some released using honey. I
Yep.
personally enjoy all of the meetings with David because he always will bring a beer, which is so fabulous. We have a lot of great live music events that are on tap for this spring and this summer as well, and some really funny kind of themed events too. We have like a Fools Fall in Love event, which is kind of the kickoff of the wedding season at Pro
Okay.
Ranada. It is.
Fools love and love.
It is
That's a
tomorrow.
good one. I like that.
Yeah, good. I'm glad you like it. It is tomorrow from 6 to close. We'll have a great like kind of wedding band classic, door prizes for people that come in their wedding best or worst, maybe. And so we have some really great kind of things around that too. Wet cake cutting, bouquet toss, photo booth, like just kind of some fun, irreverent things. will be some great live music as well. And we also are working on some big improvements outdoors as well. So we're really excited about that. But I think a lot of the people that come to Pro Ranada come for great beers and great times and a great atmosphere, and I do too. So I started doing that and ended up getting looped in. And David joined us last fall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, last October came on board, started brewing some beer.
Started brewing some delicious beer.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about what I noticed. I know you made some. So I mean, I think I went there a few weeks ago, and I really enjoyed. There was a new beer there. I can't remember what it was called, but it was like lager style on the menu. Like it was in the middle. It wasn't an IPA. Yeah. Really delicious. Really enjoyed it. I'm like, oh, this is refreshing and new, and it hadn't been there before. So I'm really excited to hear what's new and what you've been working with.
Yeah. So we got a lot of beers rotating, but then we always have kind of our flagships, which are the beers we always want to have on tap, and are going to be exact same beer every time you come. So the ones you have in front of here, you hear on the left is so these are two of our flagships. On the left is the Soundcheck Lager. So this is a premium American lager. So think beer-flavored beer is how I always describe it.
Okay.
Flavored beer. I like that.
Crisp, light, dry, refreshing, just really designed to be this very kind of by-the-book, refreshing lawnmower beer that you can just drink at any time. Personally, if I'm mowing the lawn, I'm sweating and I'm getting hot, and beer isn't really what I want. But this is the kind of beer that kind of that
when you're thirsty hits the spot.
Right, exactly.
Absolutely. Cheers.
Cheers, guys.
Well, I agree 100%.
Oh, yes.
Just clean, light, brewed with corn and rice, so it's really dry and just easy and drinkable.
And smooth.
Exactly. I mean, it's exactly, on those Saturdays where I'm working outdoors all day, and then it just before we're going to start barbecuing or whatever, it's like I always tell Michael, get me a beer, and it's like, that's what I want, because it's cold, refreshing, it's still got some flavor. Yeah, delicious, yeah.
Yeah, and then if you have enough of them, you don't care if you get stung by some of those bumblebees.
I don't know about that. I think quite a few of those.
Yeah, so this one's 4.6%, so it is really light and refreshing, and you can have a bunch, or not a bunch of them, but you can have a few of them and not be worse for the wear. But yeah, it's a beer that's always going to be on tap, and I'm really proud of, and has got a really good reception. So. Really happy to have
So now, when you start thinking of beers and other creativities, I mean, do you come up with something, say, gee, let me try this and see how that works, and then I assume maybe sometimes it doesn't work, and other times this is like, great, is that how it works, or?
Yeah, that's a great question, actually. So usually my approach is, so I'd consider myself a bit of a traditional brewer, so I like to focus on very traditional beer styles and techniques. But what I've been doing for many years now is try and have a core lineup of beers that are very, very traditional, approachable. You know what to expect. It's just going to be this excellent representation of that style. And then outside of that, have a few beers that are rotating, where myself and my fellow brewer Eric get to experiment and not just kind of play around with crazy things all the time, but really sort of take a specific aspect of the brewing process and use that as a variable and test how we can use that and manipulate it to get different character we want. So I know that was kind of a long-winded answer to your question, but basically I have a concept in mind for what I want to do, and then put it to paper, do some research on exactly how I'm going to pull it off, and then brew it.
Are there seasonal beers? Because I remember when we used to live in Carmel, California, and I think that was the Sierra beer. They would always come out with what they call the winter beer, which obviously was a stronger, darker beer. And I used to enjoy it because in the winter, again, you're not sweating as much, you're not outdoors as much, and so you want something that feels warm. Is that something that you always also do?
Absolutely, yeah. So every season really has kind of particular styles that are going to go really well with whatever that weather is. So obviously now in Virginia, we're kind of going through our weird period where we have our weird warm days, and then it's freezing.
Spring and winter mixed in together.
Yeah, your rain, sleet, and snow all within 7 minutes. But when it's cold, we always try and have, and I've always in the past tried to have a dark beer on tap, so something dark, strong, and really warming for those colder months. And then,
That's actually how Hey Porter, your porter that you made, that everybody reacted so positively to complement kind of our classic Pro Ranada winter brews. Everybody reacted so positively to the porter that David brewed, and we named after a Johnny Cash song, that it is now one of our flagship beers.
Right.
So we look forward to bringing that to cans soon. But I mean, we already have introduced some new winter beers that are going to stay in that rotation, and that one actually, we had so much positive feedback about right away that we decided to keep it on all the time, because there are dark beer drinkers in the summer.
Yep.
oh, always.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I think that's a fabulous porter. I really enjoy that one too.
Yeah, it's always a really good feeling when you brew a one-off beer, experimental beer, or just a style that is going to be seasonal, and then it's received so well that you keep brewing it.
Yeah.
I can name plenty of beers out there that have done that. It's always really warms my heart. It's good. But absolutely, every season is going to have something specific to it. So this spring we'll definitely have some sours coming out. We'll have a honey blonde coming out, and
there
then
you go.
in the summer we'll move
Yeah.
to something even lighter and different, and then back to the winter and fall we'll have these darker, more robust, stronger beers. And then if they do well, hey, maybe they'll come back or they stick around forever. Who
Exactly.
knows?
Yeah.
Sit around the whole time. What's this second one that you have for us here today?
Yeah, so this next beer is the Drone IPA. So this beer, I believe, has been on really since the brewery opened about 6 years ago now. So it's a American style, really kind of West Coast style IPA. So it's bitter, dry, has a little bit of a nice malt backbone to it, but it's really just all about those hops. So you get this dank bitterness, a lot of pine and citrus, like pithy citrus. So like think the rind of a grapefruit, something like that.
Yeah.
And just really a classic representation of a West Coast style IPA. So again, just bitter and hoppy.
And great aroma too. Like you
Right.
can, before you even taste it,
Yeah.
you can.
Yeah, you can
Yeah.
exactly
smell it.
exactly.
It's
Yeah,
like-
yeah. And it's funny how you can easily, the first beer, without any doubt, it's I'm thirsty. I want something cold, but I want some. Yeah, I really don't want water at this point, right? I want something that I can
Yeah.
have some flavor, and that's perfect. And the second one is like you're beginning to eat something.
You
and
wanna
I want-
cut that.
You know me, I just like something that has a little more bite to
Yep.
it.
Yeah.
And
Right.
That's
Well,
perfect.
you love
yeah.
cutting that grease, that
Absolutely.
meat to
yeah.
whatever you're
exactly.
eating.
Yeah.
And really
Yeah.
break it
Those
through
salt
it.
flavors go great with
Yeah.
some of these.
Yeah.
And this is actually, Hop Drone remains kind of in we have, it's probably our either top or second top beer, and has been for a while, and it kind of keeps flip-flopping with a few others now that we've kind of tweaked the recipe just a slight little bit. It still is the classic Hop Drone that everybody knows and loves, and
Yep.
remains a huge fan favorite.
Absolutely. And that,
Yeah.
I've really enjoyed the fact that, beer, I mean, it's been a few years now, but beer just literally took off, right? I mean, in other words, it used to be where everybody knew a beer, Budweiser or Heineken or whatever they were, right? Well, they are. But little by little, you realize that you went, as I used to travel a lot more when I was, before I lived in Charlottesville, right? And wherever I went, I realized, little by little, there were breweries around. And I would say, I just want to taste the local beer, just see what it tastes like. And it's like, it doesn't matter where you go now, there are, a handful of breweries. And I think it's great because you can almost taste the difference no matter where you go. But I guess what I wanted to find out was, so like in wine, right? Sometimes like you just have a bad year because the wine's just, the grapes just didn't mature, or there wasn't enough sun or not enough water. Do you have the same issues with beer?
It's another great question. So there is, to a certain extent, a natural terroir of the beer and the character you're going to get from where it's being brewed. But the industries that support and provide for brewing, namely, barley growers are a really big part of it, hop growers, hop farms, those are industries that do a really good job and work really, really hard to be able to make consistent product for us.
Right.
So a lot of times you can go to a brewery in California and they may be using the exact same malt and exact same hops that you can find in a beer brewed here in Charlottesville.
Okay.
So different breweries are going to have their different flavors depending on what their process is and specifically what their ingredients they're using are. But you can find a beer very similar brewed in Germany as you can here in Charlottesville. And kind of get back to your point on how in traveling, going to different towns, you can find a handful of breweries in every one. It's really amazing in Charlottesville in particular. I'm from here. That we have just so many great brewers, so many great breweries here.
Yeah.
So you can come right outside of town to Crozet and get Pro Renata beer, or you can find just all the great community of brewers that we have here.
No, it is amazing.
Definitely.
Yeah.
We've even got an audience question here, and then because I know I want to also get to some of the awesome events that are coming down the pipeline and just the news out of Pro Renata. But Janice Boyce-Trevelyan says, first off, she compliments dark beers are always good. Amen to that, Janice.
Yes, we agree.
And she asked, so how are wheat price increases affecting you? Is product available to you to still, be able to pursue the beers you want to pursue?
Yeah, so it's been a little tougher recently with supply chain issues and increases in prices across the board, particularly on smaller scale. It hasn't been a huge issue. That is something that we all need to keep in mind, particularly going forward in the past 2 years. But in general, it hasn't been a huge obstacle. Maybe at times not getting the materials you want in the timely fashion that you want, and having to account for fluctuating prices. But fortunately, it's been an obstacle that I've seen the vast majority of brewers be able to overcome and still produce excellent beer.
Oh, fantastic. Thanks to Robert Boland, Elizabeth LaMarche watching us today, Andrew Dunn, Poseidon San, thanks for watching, Lauren Linsky, thanks for watching today. Definitely, one of the things I love about Pro Renata is not just the beer, but also the place. Like, going out there, the events that are put on. I remember last year, we were so sad we just missed the axe throwing guy.
Oh.
That came, and
Yeah.
I was like, I wanted to be there with the axe throwing
Nothing
guy.
like having a couple of
That's
beers
okay.
and throwing axes. Nothing like
It
it.
was like my dream. And so we just missed him. He had just left, and I was like, no. And but just a beautiful space, a beautiful location. So I'm curious, what's new coming down the pipeline? What are some events that people can look forward to in the spring, going into the summer?
Absolutely. So we have some great, some live music. We try to offer, 4 to 5 nights a week of free live music to the public. And we definitely have really enjoyed growing bands within Pro Renata. So there are some people that maybe started out on a Sunday, a Monday, a Wednesday night, and now they're playing, pretty packed, loving crowds on Friday and Saturday nights. I will say, I yesterday need to call the axe thrower back. We are going to bring the axe thrower back, and I actually am talking with somebody about bringing in what I would call a semi-portable axe throwing facility, so that it can be there more regularly. I've made your day.
You've made my day.
Yeah,
You've made my day.
yeah, it is great. So we try to do
Especially you.
Yeah, we try to do some great, fun, free or almost free events like that. We have a great Easter event coming up with a 500+ egg hunt at 11 a.m. on Saturday before Easter. There's a few golden eggs that are hidden with some prizes for the adults in that mix as well. So I guess maybe 505 eggs will be hidden. And we'll have the Easter bunny on site too. So it's kind of a nice way to relax maybe before a big family Sunday for Easter. We have a bunch of great ticketed music events as well. We try to do 1, potentially 2 a month. We have New Potato Caboose later on this month. We have Zoso coming up in June, and a few kind of exciting things still in the works for May that I look forward to talking more about when we get things all signed and confirmed. But we just encourage everybody to keep up with us on social media and our Facebook events and everything like that, and feel free to reach out if there's any questions. But, unless otherwise noted, everything is kid-friendly, family-friendly, leashed pet-friendly, and we just love having everybody out and try to keep, a pretty good, spicy variety of events for everyone.
That's fantastic.
Available,
That's
yeah.
great.
And what I love is there's always room. Like, you can always find
yeah.
a place.
Yeah.
The inside is huge. I went there recently, and it was the day of the a UVA basketball game. It was right there up on the big screen.
Oh, yeah.
And first floor was packed, but then I'm like, wait a second, there's a second. And even the third looking.
Absolutely, yeah.
Part
There's
of
kind of some viewing decks that we have.
Yeah.
We have a couple different projectors. We actually had the Porsche Club of the Shenandoah Valley ask us to show some 24-hour races there. So we have been working
Wow.
with them to show some auto races too, and definitely have kind of We don't usually do group reservations outside of private events, but if there are sporting events that Charlottesville is missing and you're coming there and you really want to see it, there is a reason we have 16 TVs and a bunch of different packages for watching all this different great stuff. So always, if you're out, feel free to ask our bartender to change a channel, switch something up on the big screen. If we're missing something you want to see, let us know ahead of time. I'm happy to try to work on bringing that to the screen so you can have whatever kind of cold beer you would like. And watch whatever you would like there too. So
yeah, we've even got a TV outside too, I believe. So as the nice weather comes, you can sit outside and watch March Madness.
Wow. Absolutely, we did that last year. We were at one of those fantastic fire pits.
Oh, nice.
And first off, I love that when we asked like someone who was there to light the fire pit for us, he comes out with a flamethrower.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he did this safely.
It is.
It's very safe. Yeah. Like he wasn't like shooting it around. I'm like, this is the best thing that I have seen today.
Oh yeah.
And he's lighting it, and they're really nice. We asked them. Michael, of course, naturally, he asked them to change it to the Yankees Red Sox game because it was on, and the guy said, absolutely, we can change. So we were sitting there, the whole group around the fire pit.
TV's
some beers,
on.
Watching the Yankees Red Sox game on TV.
You cannot complain. That flamethrower is safe. It's a propane cart. I own one at home. It is totally safe to use. It's just a quick way to light our fire pits. And we look forward to kind of bringing back some fresh cornhole boards this summer and maybe a couple additional yard games. So we try to keep it, fun and fresh outside, and minimal rock throwing going on at the bar.
Well, I do have a recommendation for David. I think when the axe throwing comes, I think you should have a special brew with like double the alcohol level. I think that would be fantastic.
We'll keep Puma on for that. Yeah.
I was going to say, I believe that the staff member who was operating that flamethrower was not drinking beer, so just so
never.
everyone knows.
He was
Not the double strength, double IPA.
He was well behaved.
Yeah.
He was well behaved. Absolutely. So it just goes to show that it's a great place. There's always something you can find there. We saw tons of families when we were there, friend groups getting together, just people that were there to have a great time, people that were there to watch the game, people that were clearly there for the music that came right after the game ended.
Absolutely.
And as soon as that game ended, music came on. There was like a group that was singing there that night, so it's just a fantastic atmosphere.
Oh yeah, thank you. You'll also see some active weddings during certain parts of the year too. We do quite a few private events, so there's corporate meetings. People will reserve parts of the brewery for all day corporate meetings, and then have a great lunch break and a great team building, relaxing afternoon, because after 6 hours of business conversation, the only thing everybody wants is a cold beer and some space to spread out.
I agree with that.
We see more and more kind of corporate meetings coming in, events, birthday parties, and we welcome anybody and their party bus at any time. Give us a heads up so we can make sure we have plenty of staff ready to serve your fun party. We definitely have had, we have the Virginia Athletic Directors, 85 of them came on their buses after a big event the other day, and they just, sent an email and said, FYI, we are bringing about 100 people to the bar all of a sudden at 5 o'clock on this day, and so it was good to be able to have that
And
heads
they're all
up.
athletic directors, so.
Brace yourselves and put the games on and open the taps up everywhere. So we welcome groups of all sizes for all kinds of events. I'm so glad that you enjoy sports, fire pit, live music. We love to hear that feedback. Axe throwing, definitely axe throwing, cornhole, all of that. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. You guys are bringing it in.
can't
We
wait to
got
see that.
so many people excited to watch you both on the show. Alex Pratt's Senior watching today, Andrew Messina, Bubba Martin, Brian Combs, Maria Eugenia Amatanini, David Estanio, Danielle Fuentes Johnson, Janet Pruitt-Knight. Thanks to everyone for watching. Janice Boyce-Trevelyan says the Elvis guy is great. I guess you guys at one point had an Elvis guy.
He comes back every now and again too. We have some bands that have such an audience at Pro Ranada that we will have them back every 4 or 6 weeks or so. So you'll find the Barons there every 4, 6, 8 weeks or so, and it is always such a great time. And they were playing during our last 2 times ago when they played during our charity bartender event. So we have been working more with a lot of local nonprofits, which is a really exciting thing that we love doing, and love being able to contribute to the community like that as well. Yeah.
That is fantastic. Really, really love it. So I'm curious, before we let you go, how can people get in touch if they're interested in like doing a corporate event or doing an event at Pro Ranada? Because I mean, people can find you pretty easily. But in addition, how if they wanted to do something special there?
We're out there. So you can actually just email events@prnbrewery.com, and that is the easiest way to find out more about private event space, availability, and everything like that. If you have questions about the bar in general, any form on our website, or my very formal email address is info@prnbrewery, and everybody can reach out, call the brewery. If it's busy, you might call twice, but we really try to pick up the phones, run outside when there's music, answer the phone. But you can reach us by email, come by and see us. We're opening on our spring hours starting tomorrow, so we'll be open Tuesdays again, and we are actually also going back to being open until 11 on Friday and Saturday. Yeah.
Enjoy those sunsets.
Exactly, yep.
That's right.
Yeah, and like you both said, when we're open, it's easy to find us. Just come on in and have beer.
Exactly.
We'll be there.
Yeah,
Exactly. prnbrewery.com
that's it.
is the website. You can easily find Facebook, Instagram.
You can find us
And
everywhere.
as you're traveling, and plus the easiest, literally, you're right off the main road.
Oh, yeah,
Donut Crozet,
right
like
off
you-
64.
Right
Yeah,
off,
like,
you
yeah.
cannot miss it.
Nope.
You cannot miss it. You know, the mountains on one side,
Coronado on the other.
Exactly,
There you are.
yeah,
It's right
stop
there.
by on your
Perfect.
way to and from a hike, we love that.
There we go.
Thank you guys so much for having us today.
Well,
Thanks
thank
for
you.
coming on,
It's
Jane.
been a
Thanks
lot of
for coming
fun.
on, David. It was a
Yeah.
pleasure.
Yeah.
Pleasure
Glad to
to
bring
have
out the
you
beer.
both on. Thank you.
Look,
Cheers.
I'll leave the samples with you, and I'll put these off to the side for you. Okay, guys?
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Oh, that was fantastic. That was
good, yeah.
It's always fun. One of the particular joys I did out of today, mañana, is when, like, people come on from a business that I know and already enjoy, and I just learn a little bit more about what goes on behind the scenes, just the passion that they have, which reflects in the product. Like when you
Oh,
go
there's no
there,
doubt
you can
about it.
tell that
Yeah.
everyone at Pro Ranada really enjoys working there and being part of it. So it's just so much fun to like get to actually then interview them and talk to them.
Yeah, and I mean, and sample it is always nice because you can really just taste the flavor of whatever it is they're producing. It's great, right? And to be honest with you, these little 2 beers would have gone great with some arepas, don't you think?
Oh, I think so. ¿Por qué no? ¿Por qué no? Which is, I like what you did. That's an excellent segue.
You said not so smooth, but that's
that
wow,
was
we're pretty
smooth.
good.
So usually my segues are not smooth, but that was a very smooth segue, or as you might say, quoting your favorite song, suavecito.
Suavecito.
Suavecito. And so ahora es un placer decir bienvenidos a María Isabel Gil y Fernando Salazar, son los dueños de Arepas on Wheels.
Arepas on wheels. ¿Y por qué no arepas en ruedas?
Fue idea de nuestra hija menor y nos gustó desde que sonó la primera vez y bueno, ese fue el nombre. Pero sí, es arepa sobre ruedas en realidad.
Sobre ruedas, sí.
Sí, señor.
Que es importante, lo importante es como estamos hablando antes, ¿no? Decir que donde esté la gente es donde ustedes pueden ir, ¿no? Y
Exacto.
es mucho más fácil y naturalmente mejor para el negocio poder ir a un lugar donde sabéis que hay un montón de gente y de golpe por raso esa gente puede comprar arepas, ¿no?
Exacto.
Sí, esa ha sido una gran ventaja de este tipo de negocio, que como dices, pues, vamos al sitio donde están las multitudes, nos
Sí.
vamos a conocer, sobre todo que muchas personas no conocen la arepa, quizás la han escuchado, mas no la han
No la han probado,
como tal.
exacto.
Y eso es una buena manera de darnos a conocer, de dar a conocer el producto venezolano, la arepa, y bueno,
Obviously, yeah, the beauty of being able to go where the people are.
That's right. That's the whole
It's,
point on wheels, right? And you just go where, like Fernando said, you go where the people are, right? And then therefore, then they can try arepas, which is a Venezuelan savory dish, right?
Sí, y quiero saber, yo estoy curioso, ¿qué es la historia de Arepas on Wheels? ¿Cómo decidieron empezar esta compañía dedicada de una manera a la arepa?
Ajá. Bueno, siempre desde que llegamos a Charlottesville, en realidad vinimos de Venezuela directo a Charlottesville, siempre hemos tratado de mantener nuestra comida en el hogar vigente, o sea, que nuestras hijas no pierdan el gusto por nuestra comida
Sí.
y por nuestro lenguaje, probando, buscando alternativas para salir adelante y para para dejarles algo a ellas, algo que ellas a futuro puedan tener provecho, decidimos abrir este negocio. Yo comencé, cuando llegamos, trabajando, vendía pasteles a la comunidad hispana, pero nos dimos cuenta que al público americano le gusta más la comida salada, o sea,
Sí, es verdad.
comer, compartir, ir a un sitio y probar. Y decidimos que el food truck, por lo que dijiste cuando comenzamos, era la mejor opción, porque vamos a ir persiguiendo al público para que ellos prueben lo que nosotros hacemos. No es lo mismo que estar en un local, esperar a que alguien llegue. Es un poco más complicado como hacer un punto de comercio en un local. En cambio, en el tráiler podemos ir probando y a la gente le ha gustado. Ha sido...
And I guess that's what's important. So basically, what Maria Isabel was saying was that one of the reasons that they started this was because they came from Venezuela. I think it was 6 years ago, right?
Yeah.
And they came straight to Charlottesville. And so one way to keep the tradition, which we always talk about, right? Keep the tradition of your own country, is to eat the food, right, that you grew up with. And this was one way not only to keep that tradition going in their own family, but also to compart it with the rest of Charles. It's a great idea.
Absolutely. Johnny Ornelas dice, hola María y Fernando Salazar, saludos, arepas buenísimas.
Gracias, Johnny.
Y díganos, ¿qué es una arepa? Para la gente que no sepa bien qué es una arepa. Supongo que mucha gente que habla español sabe, pero después vamos a traducir a la gente que quizás no
Sí,
sepa
mucho
tanto.
público llega preguntando, ¿qué es una arepa? O sea, quiero comer, pero ¿qué es una arepa? Básicamente la arepa es un pan de maíz.
Okay.
Se hace con cornmeal, que es harina de maíz,
Sí.
totalmente gluten free. Y nosotros en Venezuela específicamente lo comemos en cualquier momento como plato principal, no como un side, no como la tortilla para los centroamericanos o los mexicanos, o para el colombiano también consume mucho la arepa, pero ellos la consumen como un side, como un acompañante.
Sí.
Para nosotros es un plato principal. Usualmente se hace como una especie de sándwich con él. Tomamos el pan de la arepa, que hacemos la masa, una bolita y una especie de patty, como el patty de la hamburguesa.
Sí.
Se cocina al grill, también se puede hacer frita. Es muy sabrosa. Y en base a eso la abrimos y la rellenamos con lo que tú quieras, te la puedes comer. Con lo que desees. Le
Con
pones ahí adentro y
pollo,
sabe
puerco,
pollo,
carne,
puerco,
cualquier
res,
proteína.
vegetales, lo que a ti se te ocurra puede ir dentro de una arepa.
Sí, es la ventaja que incluso las personas, el que es vegano, el que es vegetariano, puede incluir distintos tipos de ingredientes o acompañantes para la arepa.
Exacto.
No es un relleno en específico. Lo que quieras, con lo que quieras acompañarla en el momento.
Eso mismo. Well, that's great. So basically, an arepa is a dough made out of cornmeal, right?
Which is beautifully just gluten free.
It's gluten free. That's right.
Gluten-free.
And so essentially in Venezuela, it is a meal, right? He says in some places they use it as almost like bread on the side, but this way it's a meal. And so they create like a sandwich by cutting that dough in half, and then inside they can put anything they want. They can put chicken, they can put pork, they can put vegetables, they can put cheese. I guess they can put whatever you like, and they put it in there, right?
Yeah.
And that's
Just fantastic. I mean, and some of I've
tengo que
seen.
probarse, tengo mucha hambre yo aquí.
Claro, sí, ahora tengo
¿Qué
mucho
hora
hambre.
es?
Tiene que ir a probarlas.
Claro que
Son
sí.
bienvenidos cuando quieran.
Y bien, es decir, si la gente quiere seguir a donde ustedes están, ¿tienen ya anteriormente dónde van a ir o cada día es donde deciden?
Nosotros por lo general el fin de semana, o sea, los sábados, los domingos, hacemos el programa pues, de la siguiente semana, lo publicamos en Facebook, en Instagram, y allí ponemos los días y las horas
Que van a estar.
en que vamos a estar, sí. Por lo general
Exactamente.
ya, como te dije anteriormente que conversamos, la comunidad nos ha apoyado bastante, los negocios locales, cervecerías, viñedos, incluso empresas privadas nos escriben, nos llaman. Y bueno, ya de verdad pues, tenemos bastantes fechas programadas, incluso ya tenemos fechas de eventos hasta noviembre. De verdad que ha sido
Fantástico.
un apoyo, un soporte de la comunidad en general pues bastante grande. De hecho ha sido más de lo que esperábamos. Esperábamos que iba a ser algo como un poco más escalonado, pues, pero ha sido bien rápido la aceptación del público. Por eso ya tenemos fechas, incluso ya el mes de marzo estuvimos casi full. El mes de abril ya tenemos la mayoría de los días, ya los tenemos comprometidos. Y por eso es fácil publicar con anterioridad dónde vamos a estar y en qué horarios vamos a estar.
¿Y hay algún lugar en particular durante la semana que vamos a decir que cada jueves están allí o cada martes están allí o sin duda?
Siempre nos estamos moviendo.
Muy bien.
Siempre nos estamos moviendo. El lugar que más frecuentamos es Decipher Brewing. Fueron los primeros que nos dieron la oportunidad, aun cuando no habíamos arrancado. Hablamos con Scott, que es el dueño del lugar, y nos abrió sus puertas sin pensarlo dos veces. Allí hicimos nuestra inauguración oficial. Fue una noche espectacular. Desde que nos montamos en el tráiler no nos pudimos bajar. La gente esperaba media hora, porque la arepa tiene su tiempo de cocción y no lo puedes acelerar. Si lo aceleras se quema y es un proceso. Y la gente iba y nos decía, tranquilos, esperamos el tiempo que sean. Entraban al negocio, a la cervecería, tomaban un rato y cuando estaba lista la orden se le llevaba. Y ese es el sitio que actualmente más frecuentamos. También en parte de agradecimiento, y nos gusta el lugar.
Sí,
pero en general, pues por los momentos estamos moviéndonos sí, porque o sea, digamos que a pesar de que hemos buscado quizás algún sitio donde estar, vimos que en este momento no es lo recomendable quizás quedarnos en un solo sitio, porque lo que queremos es que abarcar el mayor radio y que nos den a conocer. Ya tenemos, como te dije, ya tenemos fecha en Scottsville, tenemos en Palmira, tenemos también algunos viñedos, algunos sitios que nos han invitado, eventos del condado de Fluvanna. De verdad que ha sido bastante bueno.
Nosotros vivimos en Fluvanna y nuestro condado de verdad que nos ha apoyado mucho. Desde que comenzamos nos dicen, ¿eres local? Cuando nos ven estacionados, sí. Bueno, y empiezan a correrse la voz. Tenemos eventos con el condado directamente. Vamos a estar en un fundraising para el PTO de los Middle School de Fluvanna el 22 de abril. Nos llamaron y pues no lo pensamos dos veces.
Claro.
Y así, nos han apoyado mucho en
ponernos
realidad.
Quizás en un sitio fijo por los momentos pues no vemos que sea, por los momentos no es la opción. Quizás más adelante podría ser que ya nos demos a conocer más.
No, estoy de acuerdo.
Pero
que por ahora
de realidad es muy fácil entender dónde va a estar.
Sí, totalmente.
Porque en Instagram ya tiene el schedule para
la semana.
Sí, entonces, yo sé que el segundo de abril van a estar en Cunningham Creek Winery en Palmyra. Entonces, toda la semana está en Instagram.
El viernes estaremos en Star Hill. Hoy en la noche también tenemos
si la lluvia no lo
permite.
Sí, Star Hill mañana.
Y hoy
esta noche Potter's Craft Cider. Yes. Entonces, siempre es muy fácil entender dónde va a estar.
Exacto.
So basically, if you go on their website, there's a schedule as to where they're going to be, right?
Website,
No.
Facebook and Instagram.
Facebook
and Instagram have literally a picture right there.
You just figure out.
You don't even need to click it. Like you go to the Instagram
So you know
site, which is ARP Wheels.
Yes.
Instagram.com/ARP Wheels. Right there. All
It's
the
the schedule.
dates.
Yeah.
All the schedule.
The schedule
all
with
the
the hours,
times,
everything.
and all the locations.
Perfect,
Super
easy,
easy to find.
And it's smart that they're picking places where they're either selling beer or they're selling cider or something, because it goes well, right? With because that food is delicious, right? I mean, es deliciosa la comida, el arape. Y necesitas algo para beber, necesitas algo que no sea, en mi opinión, agua, ¿no? Necesitas algo que tenga un gusto.
También en el menú tenemos, creo que comenzando la entrevista tratabas de pronunciar los tequeños.
Pequeños.
Que también es como algo más como un appetizer o una entrada, algo así, que también son muy conocidos allá en Venezuela, y aquí el que lo ha probado pues le ha gustado también.
Sí, es nuestra versión, la versión venezolana del cheese stick. o del mozzarella stick.
Entonces,
No es
mejor
mozzarella.
que chiste.
Claro, porque no es mozzarella, es queso blanco y envuelto en una masita. Esta sí lleva gluten porque es harina de trigo, pero igual es delicioso. En una fiesta en Venezuela, en un cumpleaños, nunca falta un tequeño.
Pequeño.
Y el papel en Facebook no tiene el ñ.
No, y por eso al principio había que tratar de pronunciar, o sea, tequeño.
Pequeños. Ajá.
Pequeño. Y ya tenemos comentarios. Francisco Bonillo dice, las probé el martes, las arepas, demasiado buenas, 100% sabrosas. Y Joana Gutiérrez dice, las mejores arepas.
Oh,
Las
mira,
mejores
muchas
arepas.
gracias.
Y Ricardo Cruz Durán dice, en inglés, Hispanic culture is having a profound effect on American food. This influence is not just because we're big, 52 million Hispanics in the United States, it's also porque la diversidad que traen arepas on wheels is making Charlottesville muy rico, very rich.
Gracias.
Gracias.
Y Johnny Ornelas dice, queridos los tequeños con su salsita.
Sí. Yo lo prefiero con la salsita dulce picante de papelón con
Dulce
limón.
picante.
Sí.
Yo.
Dulce y picante.
Es dulce, el papelón con limón es una bebida típica en Venezuela. Básicamente es el azúcar no procesada, el azúcar morena. Antes de llegar a ser azúcar morena se hace una panela. Piloncillo lo conocen
Piloncillo
en
le
otro
llaman
sitio.
en otros sitios.
En Centroamérica, en México creo que es piloncillo, dulce de atado, eso es más o menos el nombre. Y nosotros hacemos una bebida muy refrescante con limón y nosotros la convertimos en una salsa para los tequeños y le pusimos su toque picante y está muy rica.
Una idea de esas de laboratorios en la casa.
Exactamente,
Hicimos
exactamente.
pues algunos experimentos y salió una salsa que es dulce, pero le sientes un picante.
Picante de fondo. Tradicionalmente el tequeño se come con salsa de ajo o salsa rosada, que es la mezcla de mayonesa y ketchup.
Sí.
Nosotros la conocemos como salsa rosada
Salsa
o con
rosada.
salsa de ajo.
No.
Pero nosotros le pusimos el dulce, que es mi favorito.
Obviamente, sí.
O sea, es importante tener varias salsas, ¿no?
Exacto,
Es
tenemos
lo mejor
varias.
porque hay
Se
gente que le
puede
gusta
cambiar
eso.
y-
el
Sí.
plato con una salsa
Eso
diferente.
mismo, eso mismo.
Puede ser la misma arepa, pero con una salsa diferente. O
Tequeño.
o el mismo tequeño
Tequeño,
con
tequeño.
una salsa diferente.
Exactamente.
Entonces, algo es diferente.
Exactamente, tienes toda la razón.
Sí,
No,
Mari-
diga.
tenemos comentario. María Eugenia Martinelli says, I love pabellón.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing a piece of Venezuela to this country.
Yeah.
El pabellón es el plato emblemático,
El plato típico
tradicional de
Venezuela.
Venezuela.
De Venezuela.
Sí, el pabellón tiene arroz, frijoles negros, caraotas le decimos en Venezuela, el black beans, carne mechada, huevo, queso blanco y plátano maduro en tajadas. Es un plato
Con
muy
una,
completo.
y una cama de arroz, obviamente.
Mejor que
Ya vendida.
Mejor que
Ya vendida.
el plátano frito ya lo hice.
Claro, nosotros lo servimos como el pabellón como en un bowl y también lo servimos en la
En la
arepa.
arepa.
O sea, el pabellón te lo ponemos dentro de la arepa.
Increíble.
Y tanto,
Es
y
delicioso,
tanto.
sí.
No, lo que iba a decir antes es lo que dijo Ricardo. Si piensas bien, en Sudamérica hay un montón de naciones, ¿no? Y todas tienen algo especial.
Las gastronomías son
Y
muy
todos
diversas.
han venido aquí, entonces naturalmente, si piensas del plato americano, no es como los platos de Italia o de Francia. El plato americano no dice mucho. Y cuando llegas con todas estas comidas deliciosas de Sudamérica, que todas son un poquito diferentes,
Sí, hay tanta
es increíble.
diversidad
Por eso a la
de
gente le
comida.
gusta, porque es un cambio, pero un cambio delicioso en el sentido de la
sabor.
comida. Con sabor,
Mucho
eso mismo.
sabor.
Eso.
Exactamente, sí, exactamente. Bueno, ha sido un gran placer.
So
Para
as they say, we're
nosotros
sold,
también.
right?
We're sold, yeah. We're sold, especially just with the tequeños and with the pabellón, which is meat, cheese,
Rice, black
rice,
beans,
black beans,
plátanos.
plátanos
Plátano.
fritos.
I mean, you just can't beat that.
You cannot beat it. And, we were just saying like the diversity of
Yeah.
South American, Latino American cuisine. That
Yes.
you can
Yes.
always try something new with lots of flavor.
Yeah.
Mucho sabor, as we say.
Así es.
Un gran placer. Muchísimas
Muchas
gracias.
gracias,
por venir.
Gracias
No.
a ustedes por la oportunidad y como siempre pues agradecidos por el apoyo que le dan a
comunidad
a la
hispana.
comunidad hispana.
Sí, un apoyo muy merecido. Apoyo
Sí.
muy merecido.
Y de verdad también muy agradecidos con la comunidad de Charlottesville y los alrededores por el apoyo que nos brindan y que le brindan al mercado local. Eso le permite mucho a las familias crecer.
Eso mismo.
Y sobre todo a nosotros los inmigrantes, que ya estamos atravesando una situación complicada, abandonar
Claro.
tu país
Sí.
para venir a un lugar nuevo,
Comenzar de cero.
comenzar de
Eso mismo,
cero
eso mismo.
Sí.
y tener una receptividad y un apoyo tan grande de la comunidad es sumamente importante y satisfactorio. De verdad que le agradecemos a ustedes y a toda la comunidad el apoyo que nos brindan y que nos hace crecer todos los días.
Muchas gracias. Y el placer es nuestro, en realidad, de tenerlos ustedes
Pues
aquí.
ustedes
Y
son inspiraciones. a
eso
muchos.
mismo, eso
Gracias.
mismo.
Gracias.
Yeah. Y arepas en ruedas, ¿qué más? ¿Qué
Arepas on
qué
wheels.
más hay que decir?
Instagram.com/ARP-wheels
Ajá.
en inglés. Instagram.com/ARP-wheels.
And don't get it wrong with the other ARP. Is it AARP or something? Yeah, the old people. This is for young folks like us.
Solo una.
Exacto,
No doble A.
solo una.
Una.
Solo una.
Una.
Un montón de
gracias.
gracias, un montón de gracias. But it's really amazing, and I just want to say, so here's two young folks that came from Venezuela, right, 6 years ago, right, came here with zero, right? Reminds us of a lot of people that came to this country with zero.
Abuelito, abuelita.
Exactly. Nothing in their pocket. I mean, not a nickel, right? They came to Charlottesville, right? And what do they say about Charlottesville? The community has their arms open, accepts them, helps them, promotes them. I mean, what else can you say? I mean, you talk
love
about a
it.
community that is willing to accept and help
And support.
I mean, there's nothing more we can say, right? It's great to hear, and we're blessed to be able to have
But-
them come here and us to be able to
we
help.
love Seville.
Yeah,
That's what we love.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's there on the banner.
Exactly.
Not just a slogan. It's like it's
Exactly.
real.
It is.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Andrea Baez, thanks for watching. Edlismar Flores, muchísimas gracias por escuchar hoy. No, this has been a fantastic show.
Oh, it has. I mean,
Loved every minute of it.
from the
Just-
bees that help the beer that helps the arepas.
There we go. It's all connected.
It's all
See,
connected.
I knew you'd find a way to connect them all.
Absolutely.
It's
Well, Nick did a great job. I mean, let's face it. I mean,
He
he's
planned this
he's
all out.
fantastic at this. I know.
Planned this all out. No, big shout out to Nicholas Serpi, who put all this together, who found all our guests for today. So just
Little
really,
shout,
really
not big
great,
shout,
little
little
shout.
shout.
All right, a little shout out. We don't want to
Yeah.
make it. Oh, thank you, John Ornelas, for
Yeah,
sending
thank you,
out us
Johnny.
on wheels.
And you know,
our way.
their cousin is Johan.
Johan
Yeah.
Torres.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah. So I mean, this is all connected here.
Absolutely beautifully connected. Beautifully connected. Sí,
La familia.
Yeah.
La familia.
That's right.
Así es.
Absolutely. This has been fantastic. Just looking forward again to next week as well. I mean, every week is fantastic. On today, mañana, next week, we're going to have Dr. Leanne and Caroline Wara of Seville Opera
Oh,
are going
wow.
to join us. Because Seville Opera also having an outdoor series this weekend. They're partnering with Charlottesville Ballet. And other Charlottesville/Virginia arts partners. There's an outdoor festival April 1st to 3rd at
Okay.
Mary Mill Farm and Vineyard. So lots of great partners, the Oratorio Society, University of Virginia Chamber Singers, Seville Symphony, Charlottesville Opera, Charlottesville Ballet. So just a lot, all participating in an outdoor series, April, so that's Friday through Sunday.
Okay.
At Mary Mill Farm and Vineyard. So be sure to check it out. I think you can still get tickets are super for $8 to $20 with 2 general admission seating options. So I
Can't
mean,
beat that.
go out, enjoy the beautiful day, listen to some great music, then go head out to Arepas on Wheels where they are, pit Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then
There you
have a wonderful weekend. So we're looking forward to that. We're also going to be joined next week by Philosopher's Stone Pizza.
Oh.
That's also a very cool title. I like that.
Yeah, it's
As
true.
someone who's a fan of all those things. And Tiffany of the Tiffany Virginia Shop is going to
Okay.
join us. So we're really excited to have 3 more fantastic
Three more guests.
entrepreneurs
Another busy
and
Thursday.
local community partners on on Today and Mañana next Thursday. So just really appreciate
Judah's
it.
looking forward to this. I
know,
just
Judah's
see
already
it.
like,
That smile, it can't get bigger.
Oh, look at this. 5 again, maybe 6, we'll see. So Judah's already... Jerry's saying, talk some more. You got it. So just really love being here with you, with all
Same
the
here.
fantastic entrepreneurs, just really celebrating entrepreneurship and our Latino community, which we
Yes.
love so much. And just
And thank you for watching today
thanks
and
everyone
helping
for
us.
watching. Thanks to the audience. Just love the comments, the participation, the joy, the questions. So really appreciate everyone for watching today. Really appreciate all our partners, Vitae Spirits, Miguel Corradin at Serious Credit, Johan Torres from GBS Financial Services, Aquasivo Hand Car Wash, Tassel Hill Cidery, and the Jim Seagull. So thank you all so much. We are always partnering with Forward Adelante, the premier Latino networking group here in Charlottesville, Virginia. And we are always love to be on the I Love Sevo set, presented by Emergent Financial Services. Thank you, Judah, behind the camera. Thank you, Jerry, for just putting us in this position in the first place.
Yes.
Thank you, Johnny Ornelas. Bravo, Ortiz. Bravo, Johnny. Gracias por introducirnos a Arepas on Wheels.
Gracias.
And just thank you so much, audience, for watching us. We look forward to seeing you next week. But until that time, hasta mañana.